Okay, well, welcome to episode number 4 of Building Better Business Vlog. I am Paula Fleming, Chief Marketing and Sales Officer of the Better Business Bureau serving Eastern Mass, Maine, Vermont, and Rhode Island. Today I'm excited that Dmitry, the CEO and President of Gift Baskets Overseas, is joining us. Welcome.
Thanks so much, Paula. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm really excited to learn more about you, but also obviously the business. Can you tell me a little bit about how you got started in your career?
Sure. I came to this country, from Russia a long time ago. It's been half of my life here so far. I was 22, and I was studying in engineering and software development. So my first jobs were in engineering and software and here in the US. And I've learned, sort of tricks of the trade with, technology, and sort of that slowly gotten me to learn how to do website development, and eventually segue into my first venture, which was a flower website that eventually grew to what we have today.
Okay, all right. So let me ask you, gift baskets, that's pretty interesting to decide, hey, you went from flowers, that sounds like a natural progression, offering more than flowers. Can you tell me a little bit about, how you started versus where you are now with the business?
Definitely. So, originally we were thinking of the business as consumers of the same service ourselves. So like me, myself, and my business partner at the time, we were both, immigrants into the U.S., and we both had family back home and friends, and so when we wanted to connect with them over the distance, we were naturally looking to send a gift or flowers depending on the occasion, and so facing the challenge while trying to be a customer of a similar business, we ended up starting. And so like realizing where the challenges are, realizing where consumer currently is underserved, we've created the service that where, initially it was mostly based for Russian former Soviet Union, where we were from, and we were basically having looking for Western customers who were looking to send gifts back home to Russia or other countries out there, and that was a start. And eventually, so we found those challenges that consumers were facing here, and we were creating a service around it and making it better. Then the next stage was to find what else is needed. So we expanded internationally. Flower business became international, not only in particular countries. And then, that became sort of a global flower network called Good Choice Flowers. It was sort of operating in a similar way as Wine Hunter Flowers, if you will, except, it was more niche, focusing on particular countries and worldwide delivery. And then eventually, as customers sort of called us to a direction of gift baskets, and they told us, all right, how about you add baskets? And we started adding more of that, and some of them started asking us, can we do corporate gifting with you? Can we create corporate accounts? And so we ended up creating really a separate business actually from that, and that was eventually Gift Baskets Overseas.
Okay. And is it correct that you're serving well over 100 countries?
Yeah, actually it's 200. It's over 200 now. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Talk about some growth there. And you really listen to your audience.
That is very helpful. That is very helpful. Keeping our ears and eyes open all the time, very important. I believe there's just so much that's given to us, by customers, if we just act on it. So we created a culture of, being receptive to whatever is given to us, really for free, right? You don't have to hire expensive consultants to tell you something. It's right there, right? You just keep your ears open, listen to a customer, try to understand what it is they want. It's not always exactly spelled out, but they kind of tell you, well, I don't like that, or I'm criticizing this. And whenever you hear those critical points, by the way, BBB is right there with that, right? Because whenever we get the feedback, not direct but through sites like yours,
Third
that's
party.
also very helpful, right? Because some people are not very comfortable telling you directly in your face, like you've done a bad job. Some of them prefer go to a third party and say express either their dissatisfaction or emotion elsewhere. And those other channels actually very helpful because you get perhaps a more honest and more direct, more detailed feedback, right? And which we can work with. So that's very important for us, and that translates actually into the company as well. Like inside the company, customer-facing people often talk to customers, much more than anyone else, right? And no one else knows exactly what's going on. So we have this culture where whatever customer says to our people, and our people forming their own opinions, how they understood the customer. We listen to those people who listen to the customer. They become our internal, sort of
Sounding board.
yes, like that, and that really helps because we don't always know what customer says on the front lines, and these people they do, and so we are forming opinions based on those frontline workers, and they tell us what it is we need to do.
I think that's great because you would think as a business owner or a leader in a business that it's a no-brainer to listen to your employees and to listen to your customers. But I can't tell you how many times that I have been asked for help or guidance or, an impartial perspective on what's transpiring. And I will give it, or I hear the employees giving it, or the customers verbalizing it. And the exact opposite is happening. And then they question, why do we have a big turnover? Why aren't we getting enough customers? And it's like, because you're not listening. I think sometimes ego can get in the way, stubbornness, your ideal of what your business is going to look like, and not having the ability to adapt. So that's a great point. Thank you for mentioning BBB too, because a lot of people think that we only handle complaints, but in reality, customer reviews are a huge part of what we do, but also what businesses value in this day and age. So that's extremely important. And I appreciate that you actually look at them and take them into consideration as your business continues to grow. And I think that's why you are still in business after, 12, 13, 14 years. Here you continue to evolve, which is so important. Let me ask you, so you're primarily online. So
100% online, yeah.
100% online. Okay. So you were kind of ahead of the curve. You had already learned, COVID hit and everybody was kind of pivoting. How has that affected your business, or has it at all?
Well, actually, we faced other challenges related to COVID that perhaps, affected a lot of businesses. But working remotely wasn't one of them, because, in fact, everyone in our company from day one has been working remotely, and we don't have a sort of a common office where everyone goes to. We've toyed around with that at some point, but we realized that our culture has been built differently than traditionally sort of a typical office culture, and so we were sort of born into the other reality already, and we just kept going with it. So working remotely part, like all the Zooming and sort of face-to-face meetings and those huddles where people meet and teams meet, and we've done all that long before the COVID, and in fact it was also a transition, but just much slower for us. Like we weren't immediately just booked and ready to work that way, but slowly, as we were growing, we were able to get there. And when the COVID hit, we were basically doing it already, and the part where COVID really, made it challenging is because we serve so many countries. There were lockdowns in various, places, and those lockdowns obviously affected some areas with respect to deliverability, the product availability, and we've been pretty transparent on our website about potential delays and challenges. Customers were, fairly understanding. I mean, they were very understanding. If you see Amazon being late, with their deliveries, and people, most American consumers and Westerns who order from Amazon, they know that Amazon's very reliable, and then during COVID they weren't as much. So if that happens with a big company like Amazon, then what can you expect with an international delivery service? So I think we've exceeded expectations, but we warned people that sometimes gifts would arrive, few days or sometimes a couple of weeks later. And during the peak of it, there were cases like that, and customers were mostly understanding with that. Yeah,
that's great. And I think the key word there was transparency. You're up at front and honest. We may be late. We own that. It's, just like everybody else, you're struggling to keep track of not only what state you're allowed in, but what country. Yeah, so that's a huge issue. And I think being transparent and honest, people really respect and understand if you set that expectation up front. What about your online store? How often do you evaluate what products are selling versus what aren't? And is there anything for people that are starting out? And I have a ton of businesses that are thinking, I want to do a new skincare product. We're going to start online. What have you learned that maybe you could share from your experience?
We kind of went a little bit different direction from sort of understanding what niche services and niche product. So my general view of the business is that for a small business, which probably a lot of your listeners, viewers are small businesses, I would say that the small is the new big, and that's sort of a quote from Seth Godin, the marketer who's written a book about it. Basically, his idea in a nutshell is that you find something very small, and something you can really afford to do, and you get so great at it that not a big competitor ever could do it as well as you in this particular small niche. And that small niche can be a small single product that you do so well that no one else can beat you, and no one else can catch up. You're going to be just the best in it. Or perhaps you find a niche service, which is sort of difficult to do, and you excel at it. So I think we are the later. So like we didn't really go for a single product or a small set of products. We actually went for a breadth of products in certain categories, such as baskets or flowers and chocolates and so on. So there's a breadth of products for corporate and consumer segments. We even have vitamin baskets, natural things like vegetable baskets, whatever, and we have some health conscious choices, right? And so we didn't go for the niche category specifically, but we sort of focused on a particular general category, and we said, well, our niche is making it easy for customers to send gifts internationally and connect with their loved ones or important people far away. So our niche is really connecting people worldwide. That's the mission, and the niche is doing it through international service, and getting the best at that was our number one goal. So our niche is really making a difficult thing easy for people. Kind of what it is. And of course, it's easy to say so many years after, but rewinding back, I can say that from the very beginning, we kind of wanted to go there. We weren't quite there in the beginning, but we realized that what people need is for us to make it easy for them to send gifts overseas, and that's what we've done. I think there are great examples of other things that people can do. Small product that you do one particular thing. Just take an example. Let's say you want to make dog gift basket, dog lovers gift baskets, and someone who likes dogs would be a recipient, right? There's not so many sites that sell specifically gift baskets for dogs, right? Just an idea, right? There's some, and not a lot. So if you are a specialist or you like dogs, let's say, right, and you really enjoy this sort of business, then you can build the business around this one product type, then expand a little bit out of it, make perhaps categories for baskets for spaniels, baskets for poodles.
I gotta go.
There you go. So that would be a niche enough. It wouldn't be a single product, but it would be potentially a breadth of products. You can expand from it. If you're successful and you also, let's say, not the same person who loves dogs, someone else likes cats, right? And maybe you expand into the cats category and so on. So you can grow from it, but you can start from something very small enough for you to be able to do it. I think that's the kind of learning I have.
So what I'm hearing first and foremost is you were passionate about this because it was personal to you. There was a need for it because you were experiencing wanting to, show love to your family members overseas. Then I'm hearing create a niche that you're passionate about, Don't focus broadly. Really focus on one or two things that you do really well, and then see if you want to expand from there.
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
I have a few questions. So do you feel that it's your website, the URL, giftbasketsoverseas.com? Do you feel that your primary audience with that is overseas to the 200 countries? Do you try to not exclude, but focus on that rather than local?
That's an excellent question, and from a marketing perspective, that's right to the target. Yeah, so that's the secret sauce, right? And in a way, you're gonna think of a consumer and how they buy gifts today, how they've been buying it for a while. The business name itself is perhaps somewhere from long ago, where Google was favoring companies that had keywords in the name, right? So like today is not really that, right? I mean, probably if I was to name the company today, I would, name it something else, probably something that some name that doesn't exist yet. Which, by the way, I just named the new thing that we're doing, and that doesn't exist. I can tell you a little bit later. But the whole idea is that Gift Basket Overseas was initially just a collection of keywords that comprised the name. So I was at lunch and I got this fortune cookie, and it said, "You'll make a name for itself." Usually you don't look at those things like, what is this, right? What does it mean exactly? And
listen, I'm with you. I read my tea bags and I take quote seriously on the tea bags.
Well, I never really believed in this stuff. But I go, okay, And then that day, I picked out the domain name Gift Baskets Overseas. That was back then, way back then, and that is sort of the name. And the idea was, and the name then, so like it's like a saying where you name something, and then after you name it, it sort of pulls you, right? Like this is a name, and now the name kind of calls for a certain market position. So yes, we thought of it a little bit, but in a way, it's a bit accidental as well, right? So I was thinking as a marketer, like a digital marketer, I would say, okay, what would Google like? Google would like these keywords because that's a market I'm going for. But then, after creating it,
side of you,
right, it's another side, and then a human side, and start thinking, all right, so. And then other customers started looking for exactly that way. They looked for overseas gifts. So let's say you're in the U.S. and you have someone in Germany and a friend, right? And you want to send a gift to a friend in Germany and reconnect or send a happy birthday wishes, and that's what you do. You look for a gift, send gift to Germany, and you find websites just such as ours. Or you may look for something like send a gift basket overseas, right? Or you may send gift basket abroad. So those are the kind of keywords you probably use, right? And that's the kind of market we're going for. That's the kind of searches we are interested in. If you are in the US, you probably wouldn't search for something like send gift baskets within the US because you're already here. You just send a gift basket, or you would say, send a gourmet gift, or I don't know, something like that, right? So
that's interesting. Yeah, thank you.
So that's not our audience. Like US to US, we do service those customers. Right. So we have a lot of customers today who order with us to other countries, and they also send to us for the US because they're here. But they don't immediately think of us as a company that they would use for the US because the name is different. We try to change that perception, of course, with existing customers, but it's not easy because once you name it, it's there, right?
Yeah, right. You mentioned that you do corporate. Was that a strategic plan for you, or did it just happen naturally and organically where they came to you and said, we have, larger businesses, of course, have people, employees in China, et cetera. So is that something that they came to you, or was that a strategic idea that you had that you want to focus on B2C and B2B?
It is now strategic, but being completely frank, when we were starting, we didn't know what we were doing, right? We were like, okay, we're just gonna go for the market and then see who the customer is, right? And customers came in all shapes and forms. There were some that were like me, immigrants from other countries living in the U.S. and other countries sending back home, right? Immigrants from Mexico in the U.S. sending back to Mexico and so on, right. Or perhaps Mexicans having friends in the U.S. sending here. So like those were one group, and we liked those. We understood those people very well because we were them. Yeah. Then there were people who were dating online, right? And that's a romantic group, and they were mostly sending flowers and some chocolates, and baskets were there too, but they weren't necessarily corporate either. So then there were some people who were working overseas and sending again gifts back home. It's still a B2C segment. There were people who were serving APO, FPO, army bases, and then they were sending back home, or their family was sending gift to the army base to them. So there were again a consumer group. There were exchange students studying overseas, again B2C, and eventually eventually you start like looking at this. All right. And then you start getting those corporate people that ask to send gifts to their clients and to their employees in another country. So it just started happening, and eventually that corporate group grew, and it grew faster because when you think about the corporate customer, they generally sending more than one gift, right? They have several clients, sometimes dozens and hundreds, thousands, and so they may send one gift one day. They like what you're doing, and they send you several gifts next day, and so on. For Christmas, we get a lot of return business because all of those customers who order with us during the year, maybe one-off gifts, they understand, they trust us that we can deliver, on our promise and deliver what they've expected, and they already trust us. In one country, that trust sort of gets shadows over to the others, and then they make those choices based on that trust that they've built. So again, I think that's back to the mission. I believe partial mission of BBB is really building trust.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what we value that a lot, because if we haven't had that, this corporate connection would not be possible, because corporate customers, it's all about trust, right? They trusting us with the clients, their top clients, the VIP clients that they do business with. They need to impress them with gifts that we're going to deliver. So for them, of course, gift is not what they're buying. The delivery is not what they're buying. They are buying, they're hiring us. This is another sort of metaphor of jobs to be done, this whole concept, right? They're hiring us to get a job done, and job is to connect or keep the connection going with a particular individual somewhere else, right? That could be a personal or corporate customer. They all want to connect with someone out there, someone they don't know perhaps that well, right? Someone they want to continue relationships with, either personal or business. And so they're buying the opportunity to continue this relationship, the opportunity to keep that connection warm, right? So that's what they're buying. And we only realized it recently, maybe 5-6 years ago, that we're really selling that, as opposed to we're selling a basket or a delivery service. I think we're selling what I just told you, the connection, the relationship.
Experience,
Experience, yes.
So let me ask you, how much do you advertise for a company like this?
So we allocate a good chunk of a budget for marketing. We do roughly probably at least 12% of the overall company budget goes to marketing. Between it varies year to year, depends on the year, but I would say 12 to 15% is safe. Also, Google, costs of advertising on Google is growing. So we've been probably growing a little bit faster lately, with COVID. This past year we've grown 75% from our previous year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So that has been a good ride. So it's not necessarily that last year we've spent as much on marketing, because a lot of the business that came when the COVID hit was actually returning business from customers who wanted to reconnect, or people couldn't travel. So if you think about consumer behavior changes that we've experienced in the world, people that couldn't travel or were afraid to travel, there were many reasons why it didn't happen. Business travel basically got halted, right? So all those people who used to take clients to nice dinners, or traveling, visiting the site of the customer and talking to them, all this budget, it was unused. People needed to somehow connect. So we were there, and we were able to create virtual events, facilitate delivery of various gifts that somebody wanted to do a Zoom conference or an event. So they all get a gift. They'll open a bottle of cider or the little chocolates, and at the same time, and we were the ones delivering that on time to make sure it's it's openable by that day.
Okay. All right. Do you send liquor across country? You don't, do you? 'Cause you said
We do not deal with liquor, but
not.
but there are wine baskets, right? And there are champagne baskets, and things like sparkling cider. In some countries, actually, the alcohol is not legally allowed to deliver.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
And whenever we actually don't deal with it, we don't touch the product. Alcohol products are done only by licensed suppliers, and they are the ones who are handling it. In those countries where it's legally allowed, they would be the ones delivering wine and using their alcohol license. Yeah.
How often do you get pitched for someone to say, come to you? You must get people calling you saying, I want to be part of your company. I want to be part of your business. I have great products. Can I get in your baskets? Does that happen daily?
Yeah, we do get a lot of those requests. We don't always make those decisions ourselves because we have a setup where in each country we have a trusted supplier where we basically work with them closely to develop products together. So generally, they would be the ones making the final call on what goes into the basket and how it should look. So it's a lot of it is cultural, right? So like in somewhere like in China, right, you would have certain color scheme for baskets and you would use certain packaging and certain products. In other countries, you wouldn't use that because in China, certain colors are maybe offensive, right? And certain colors in opposite would symbolize the holiday, like we know the gold and red are popular for Chinese New Year, which is, by the way, and going to happen here in less than a month. It's a big holiday for us because we have a lot of Asian business, and so yeah. But those cultural intricacies are important because in our context, when people trust us to understand what goes into the gift and what makes a good gift, it's important for us to be experts. So in each of those markets, we do work with locals to really understand the culture deeper on a deeper level than we can ourselves. And that's why whatever we do with gifts is always adjusted on a local level. Even the gift may look similar in various countries and catalog, when it's actually created and delivered, it would be culturally adjusted to a customer, to recipient within the country.
Okay. That's good to know. And thank you. I didn't know Chinese New Year was coming up. So for people that are watching, where can they find your products and more information about your company?
Of course. It's a giftbasketsoverseas.com. It's our main website. We have some other smaller websites, but this is the main one. It's multilingual, so in case if someone prefers other language than English, you can certainly switch to Spanish, Portuguese, German, French, Russian. I believe that's all. So that's where we are so far. So that's giftbasketsoverseas.com is a main brand. You can find all the products there. You can see the list of countries that we delivered to. It's 200 plus. There's a flat delivery fee. There's gift is usually it's around $15 to deliver a gift. It's not that much. We charge a lot of it is because it's done locally. You don't really spend a lot for border crossing. You don't risk it. So the whole model is really local delivery and involving local suppliers as opposed to getting cross-border shipments.
Okay. And what about social media? Are you on social media? Definitely.
We are fairly active on Facebook. So it's facebook.com/giftsoverseas.
Okay.
And we, I believe we are on Twitter as well. It's the same. You reminded me also that I should mention the blog. Of course, we have blog.giftbasketsoverseas.com. That's our blog, and we have a podcast, by the way, to all the listeners who like to video casts and vlogs. We have a podcast that is actually B2C. It's called Long Distance Short.
Okay.
It's basically dedicated to long distance relationships, not necessarily romantic only, but in general sense, when you have someone far away and you care about that person, how do you connect? How do you keep that relationship warm? And so we sponsor that podcast, and but it's really not about gifts. It's really more about connection. And so
yeah, but I think it ties in, right? Because gifts are about connecting, and gifts are about I think a relationship and an experience, and whether it's a love or if it's a family member, it all kind of ties in together, because you can't keep that connection unless you are nurturing it and helping it to grow. So in my
Absolutely.
opinion, it all kind of intertwines. So
Very much so. Very much. In fact, gift itself wouldn't exist if there was no connection. Why would you send one, right?
right.
So it's a lot of it in our business. We also learned sometimes you send the basket and the recipient doesn't find the greeting card, either because a mistake was made or it was attached in some weird place where recipient didn't expect it. Those things can happen, right? So whenever those things we faced in our business, we realized how important it is. The gift itself is nonsense. Gift itself is great. It's great to receive anonymously, but it's not really what makes the value for the sender, right? The sender wants the card that comes with the gift, and that's what makes the connection, right?
Yeah.
So to give without a card is not that valuable, right? For the sender. For the recipient, maybe it's valuable, but not for the sender. So that's, again, speaks for the relationships. The card is really, I think we're in the business of sending cards and attaching baskets to them, not the opposite.
Okay, so thinking you should do a little thumb drive with like a video message to go into the basket.
Yeah. Actually, we were playing with that idea at some point. Either doing some sort of a remote service, and we ended up creating something similar called Gifty Link. It's this service which allows a sender who is late to send the gift. Let's say you forgot about the birthday and the birthday's today. I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to do it? So you go to our website, you still find the basket you want to send. You send it, and you can have a special service there called Gifty Link that allows you to send the gift virtually today. So basically, gift arrives to the recipient in a nice email with a card by email. It says, your gift is coming, it's en route, and here's the card that Paula sent to you to say happy birthday, and sorry the gift's running late. Not really Paula's fault, whatever, so
always my fault. I'm not good with those type of birthdays. I'm like, how old am I? I can't even remember. Well, that's great. Thank you so much for your time today. I know you're extremely busy, and I appreciate it. I'm sure our viewers have gained some knowledge, and I'm sure you're going to get some more business. I hope you continue growth. I appreciate your support of Better Business Bureau as well. And thank you to our viewers for tuning in. We are a weekly vlog, and we look forward to connecting soon. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Paula, for having me. I appreciate it.